Terragroup and the Cultists are not separate factions. They are literally part of the same plan, and that plan is to end all of humanity, to make the humankind become extinct. In this video, I'm going to be connecting the in-game documents that you collect throughout all of the chapters, and I'm going to be going through them one by one and what we learned from each chapter. So this is your warning. If you guys do not want spoilers, if you guys do not want to know these things, if you're still working through these quests, now is your last chance to click away before we spoil everything else. But moving on, we're going to be covering everything we learned from chapter 1 through the Labyrinth, through Blue Flame, through the Unheard, and overall build the disturbing truth that we learn about Tarkov and everyone in it, all of the characters and their connections and what they are really doing and how all of this has really played out.
The Norvensk region has forever changed the moment it was turned into an open economic zone. Both Norvensk and Tarkov became centers of international partnership. One of the most influential corporations on the global stage, Terragroup, has established its regional headquarters in Tarkov. In Tarkov, the corporation was actively acquiring land and absorbed local businesses for the sake of its revolutionary projects. Terragroup's influence in the city grew rapidly. It wasn't long before they started showing interest in restricted government facilities, a move that couldn't go unnoticed by domestic security agencies. In order to protect their enterprises, Terragroup hired a foreign PMC, United Security. USEC personnel began blocking access to Terragroup's facilities, and even the government authorities no longer had a full picture of what the corporation was doing within Tarkov's borders. Eventually, a team of investigators was sent to the local headquarters to search the building and compile a report. But the USEC operatives refused to let the law officials through and opened fire. Terragroup's local headquarters became Bear's primary objective, withstanding multiple assault attempts. During one of those raids, something happened. An event that split Tarkov's history into the before and after.
Now, there was an EMP that goes off in this economic zone, and then that's kind of where we jump into Tarkov after the chaos ensues and it becomes like a, total economic free zone. And why? Who set off the EMP? Well, we now know through the Labyrinth questline, through the Blue Flame questline chapters in the game, that Terragroup developed and set off this EMP. In the Blue Flame, we find out all of this. So when we find documents from the AP director or whatever, I don't exactly know what their role is, but I know that they have a lot of information, which we're going to be talking about a lot about the AP. Now, if you guys don't know who the AP is, you're going to find documentation about the AP in the black hidden keycard swipe behind the picture frame in the apartments up by Cardinal on Streets. You're also going to get a ton of information about the AP throughout a few different chapters in the game. Okay, so the AP was someone who did the press debriefs, and they clearly had a lot of insight into what Terragroup was doing. But this leads us to, throughout the leaked documents that we find from the AP, we know that the Blue Fire was, aka the EMP, and keep in mind, so we're gonna be talking about the Blue Ice, we're gonna be talking about the Blue Fire and Blue Flame. Blue Flame is the chapter, Blue Fire is the EMP itself, and Blue Ice is another agent that we're gonna be seeing here talking about in a short little while. So stay tuned for that. But when the Blue Fire went off, when the EMP went off, it was planned by Terragroup for that. It was planned the entire time. And now, why would Terragroup want to set off an EMP in this area and this economic free zone? Why would they want this area to be locked off from the rest of the world? What benefit would Terragroup have? Well, throughout the Labyrinth quest, throughout They Are Already Here, throughout the Accidental Witness, throughout the Unheard, we collect information about this. And the information we get through these separate documents, you're going to be seeing some of them on screen right here, is that it gave them a testing ground where they could hide behind the eyelids of the rest of the world and do chemical testing. They could figure out ways to develop super strong soldiers to take over the world. It allowed them to move people, to get people, to pull strings in order to get people in high places across many governments in the world. So now we've covered why Terragroup would want to stop the EMP. It gives them this little playground where they can do all these things that give them advantages over the globe. Terragroup is not only a company, a research company. They are a research company developing and planning on taking over the world. Now, we learn this through separate documents, but through the Labyrinth questline, we learn specifically about what testing they're doing, about the exact drugs they're testing, which is how we get the Shadow of Tagilla on Labyrinth, if you guys have played it. It's basically a super juiced up Tagilla who survives a bunch of headshots. He has a ton of health. He has really great armor. He has a tier 6 helmet that goes all around, and it's a scary environment. And we learn all about all these tests they run on different people and all the drugs they're developing. Throughout the blue flame and the Unheard, we pick up on these chemical agents they're testing inside a factory, which increase the lethality of human toxins by 30 to 45%. So I think the document talks about anthrax. Anthrax became 30 to 45% more lethal when it was mixed with blue ice, which is this chemical agent they were testing, which can be found on factory. Now, these are just some of the things they were doing. And why would they do, how would developing these things in these, behind closed doors environment of Tarkov, how would it benefit them in the real world? Well, they plan on taking over the entire globe. And not only that, we learn through They Are Already Here and the Unheard is where we learn the connections and what they plan to do. Now, we've always thought the cultists. Now, if you don't know who the cultists are, we're going on a little bit of a tangent. The cultists are AI that only show up at nighttime on certain maps, wood, shoreline, customs. I think that's it. I think they can show up on factory, I believe, and technically ground zero, but those kind of change every now and then. So, but nonetheless, they have poisonous knives that they hit you with, and you become poisoned and you'll die, between 60 and 90 seconds. You'll be dead, maybe even 30. They always carry really great ammo, good armor. They spawn with the best keys in the game in their pockets half the time. They are super, super lethal. They are very accurate, and they tend to ignore you until they're aggroed. If you run directly by them, you may hear their knife come out, and they'll try to melee you. If they're already aggroed, they will just shoot you, but they hide in bushes. They're mostly prone, and they're just a very lethal group of AI, and they're very hard to fight, depending on your skill level, especially if you're playing on the night woods by the sawmill. They are near impossible to kill. But nonetheless, now that everyone is caught up on who the cultists are and what they're doing in the actual game, we can pull into their connections into the chapters now and the overall Tarkov lore. The cultists are weird. They're ritualistic. They have the circles. They have the marked rooms where they store this great loot. And through doing some of the quests, you find that they kept part of the EMP in one of the rooms, and that's super weird that they're like worshiping this thing. And throughout the They Are Already Here questline, we get a bunch of cultist documentation, and we get to get an eyewitness onto a fly on the wall into what happened to some of the victims of the cultists, especially the first cultist victim. And we learn what the cultists are after. The cultists believe in creating a new future. They believe in eradicating the Homo sapien, so killing all humans, making the human race extinct. And few wardens and the Unheard, who are trusted, will be the ones to bring the knowledge and the power of all of what the Homo sapiens have created into the new future, but that the human race must go extinct. And we then start to find some connections here between the cultists and between Terragroup. So the Warden is often spoken about in a few different types of documentation. And the Warden is the one that they entrust in carrying out the next step into that is the only person who is going to survive, because they're not human. The Warden is not human, and the Unheard are not human. They are advanced creatures who are trusted to carry on all the knowledge of the human race into the future. And they're using the technology that we find underneath of Interchanger's power room, the Cord 14 room, which is the eyes of the world, essentially. All that information is going to these people, to the Unheard, to the Warden, and they are trusted to carry on all of this into the future. And at first, I didn't know if the cultists were stealing from Terragroup, and that was their goal, or if what exactly was going on. But it turns out that throughout the Unheard mission, and they are already here, Accidental Witness, the Labyrinth questline, all of them, we do make the connection that the cultists are kind of the behind-the-scenes cult that have taken over either taken over or they associated with, I believe, taken over. But nonetheless, they are also the people who are in control of Terragroup and in control of the entire global powers outside of Tarkov. All of the global powers outside of Tarkov already have the Unheard in place across the entire globe in seats of power, ready to act when Terragroup and in coordination, the cultists bring upon the end of human civilization. And they're going to do this with what likely seems to be chemical weapons. Hence why we find the blue ice chemical agent on Factory that increases lethality by 30 to 40%. We have all this drug testing to develop superhumans to help take down other global forces. And basically, all these documents lead us to the understanding that the cultists and Terragroup in turn are going to kill all of humanity. They're going to make the human race go extinct. That's why I'm so in shock that no one else has talked about this, because it is so crazy. It is such an insane link. We thought that these were two different factions, the cultists with their secretive faction, and they are a secretive faction, but they're not on their own. They are literally infiltrated and part of Terragroup. And it all starts to click as you finish all of these missions. You learn and who the Warden is. Is the Warden Lightkeeper? I don't think so. But in the Savior ending, the Warden, I believe it is the Warden who walks in to the room with you and is then assassinated by one of Kerman's, cohorts, we'll say. The guy Kerman sends to keep you safe ends up killing what I believe is the Warden, or that's the general, sorry. But as the general and the Warden the same, we don't find any documentation that really differs, but they could be the same or they could not. It's hard to tell because of these different sources do call different people by different names. So it is really hard to understand if it's the general or the Warden or whatnot, but the Warden is the one who's supposed to carry on into the future after the human race goes extinct for a better world. And the cultists ritualistically believe in this. And that is why they are trying to extinct the human race. And why that they have control over Terragroup, and why Terragroup does the experiments they do. So maybe I'll run down one more time what we find out through each of these quests, just to really tie it all together. That's the overarching of it. But throughout all these quests, so we have Batya. Batya, we find out this very lethal bear squad, got betrayed, and everyone in the unit died besides Viovada. I doubt I'm pronouncing his name correctly, so forgive me. But Viovada's entire squad was betrayed and they were all assassinated, and just Vijavada escaped with his life. Now, Vijavada knows it was someone on the inside who did the job, and he doesn't know who. He was good friends with Lightkeeper. All in all, at the end of Batya, you do find out that Lightkeeper is the one who betrayed him. And Lightkeeper wanted to tie up his loose ends, basically, is what I concluded to. So that's what we found from Batya, is that Lightkeeper, aka the cultists, are trying to keep a lot of things in the dark and don't want it to get out, and that's why they're trying to cut down their loose ends. Then we also have the Unheard. So for the Unheard, that's kind of our connection to find out that the cultists and Terragroup are intertwined, that they are one and only. And not only that, but we do get more information about the AP, and that the Blue Flame, aka the EMP, was 100% planned. This was all part of Terragroup's big plan. And we find out that Terragroup has powerful people in powerful positions across the entire globe and across almost every country. Blue Fire is basically all about the EMP. We find out the cultists are entwined with the EMP. We find out the cultists worship the EMP. We find out when it was made. We find out some stuff about the drugs that are found on Factory, what they do, and about some more of the experimentation that is being done by Terragroup. They are already here. It's mostly following the cultists. So that's where we find out all the things the cultists believe. We find out about the AARS 14-4 cord station. We find out about the way they do their rituals. We find out that they want to extinct the human race. We find out that they are in connection. We find out about the generals. We find out about the wardens. We find out about the eyes of the world underneath, which was the 14-4 cord station. But we find out about the eyes of the world and how they're used, and how that, and who that information is being fed to and in what way. And then we have the accidental witness, shows us that basically Terragroup was using these gangs, and they were flowing drugs and money and guns to these gangs to help make Tarkov become a free zone, an economic free zone, and become fully off limits to the rest of the world, and just kind of lock everyone in. And that's how they kind of made the city a mess, so that it was easier for Terragroup to take control of everything they needed to do to get everything in the proper places. And then finally, the Labyrinth chapter is where we find out about the human research they're doing, what the research is for. We find about the Bear Squad who's in there. We connect the dots with Vijavada Squad. And we really just start to get a better eye of the overarching scale of their misdeeds that Terragroup has been doing. Not necessarily the reasons why, but we do find out about more of the actual things they're doing bad. And through, back up through Blue Flame, they already hear, and the Unheard, we find out why they are doing these bad things and what more bad things they plan on doing in the future. So that's going to wrap it up for my lore video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have other information that you guys want to talk about, or other information that you guys disagree with or agree with, and you guys want to, discuss more about, you guys want to make a specific video on, I would really, really love to get into it. I love Tarkov lore. I'm super excited to talk about it. I can't believe no one else has made this video, especially given the impact it had on the cool lore of the cultists and Terragroup, and which ending you want to get for a lot of people. Even a lot of people didn't trust Kerman. And let me actually not end the video right here. Let me talk about Kerman for a second, because there were some events back in the day where Kerman kind of went on and he talked about, there was the skier side or the peacekeeper side you could choose. And for this random event that you were doing, you had to sell things to peacekeeper or skier, I think. And when you're doing the event, it's kind of getting run through Kerman. Like, Kerman's the one giving you the quests, and he's kind of the one that you're getting messages from Fence through, I believe. And he talks about how Tarkov's just one big game to him, like how he hates everyone and everything inside of Tarkov is kind of the feeling that he gives off, and that it's all one big joke, and that everyone's just a pawn in the game. And he's like, I know everything that's going on in here. And from that moment, I knew Kerman was a good guy. and he kind of was talking about like the things you were doing. He hated Terragroup, and then you look at the missions he gives you in these chapters, and it's very clear that Kerman is a good guy. Kerman is an online digital hacker, you know, profile basically. That's the ID he gives off, is that he's this digital hacker who's a nomad who's just out to cause chaos. But when you start connecting the dots between the chaos he's asking for, he is very mysterious. So that makes people not want to trust him. But he's always asking, he's always trying to get dirt on Terragroup. He's always against Terragroup. He always wants to harm Terragroup. He doesn't care too much about who else gets hurt in the way really that much, because he usually gives good reasons on why, you know, this guy's a bad guy or don't worry about that guy, kind of dealio. So Kermit to me was always a clear good guy. If you go back towards my videos about the Tarkov endings that you guys can see on my channel here that performed very, very well. In those videos, this is before anyone escaped Tarkov. This is before anyone finished all the chapters. I was saying Kerman is going to be a good guy. Kerman wants to, and I was the only, everyone in the comment section disagrees with me. They say, no, Kerman's going to backstab me. I think it was because there was a lot of Landmark viewers, and Landmark kept saying, I think Kerman's going to backstab me. But I honestly never once thought that. I made this vocal in my videos, and I turned out to be right. So that's kind of how Kerman plays in this. We still don't get very much ID on Kerman or who he is, but we do know that he is against Terragroup, and he wants to bring this evidence to the light of day to stop the end of humanity. Literally to save the world. And that's why that ender is called Savior, and that's why it is Escape Tarkov, to save all of humanity. Because if without doing that, all of humanity is doomed and will die, and the human race will go extinct. If you do this, it might save the world. And based on the ending and then whatnot, I'm going to say it does save the world. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to talk more about this, let's go. Let's do it. Talk in the comments. Tell me what you want to make another video on. I am super excited to make this video and to talk about this even more. Let me know your other theories or other things you guys want to know about. Hopefully I have some more tutorials coming out here in the near future. This next week I'm going to be making at least one more tutorial, if not 2 more tutorials. So we will see you guys then and there. Peace out, guys. Good night. We'll catch you guys next time.